So, Honda have just announced that they will be leaving Formula One at the end of next season, at the end of 2021. Some may not be that surprised because Honda have always been a little bit hesitant to commit to long-term futures. Their original contract with Red Bull and AlphaTauri ended at the end of this season, at the end of 2020, and when it came to renewal, they were only prepared to commit to one further season, to the end of 2021. So they've always been a little bit unsure about their long-term participation in this sport. But to drop the bombshell that they're going to be pulling out, one of only 4 power unit manufacturers in Formula One leaving, well, that's big news. And the reason it's such big news is, first of all, it takes a quarter of the power unit manufacturers out of the sport. That's big. One of the world's biggest global automotive manufacturers has decided to quit one of the world's biggest motorsports. Secondly, of course, it leaves 2 major teams with a very difficult decision about their future power units. Red Bull Racing have had difficult relationships, of course, with Renault in the past. They are unlikely to be given a Mercedes power unit for 2 reasons. First of all, that Mercedes are one of their direct competitors and will see Red Bull as one of their biggest threats to success. But also Mercedes are already powering a number of teams and are at their capacity. So that then leaves Ferrari. Are Red Bull Racing really going to get a Ferrari power unit? Do they even want one? That's a story that will run on and on for some time, and I cannot wait to see the outcome of that. I don't think it's straightforward. But I think perhaps the biggest problem, or the biggest sign that this decision that Honda has made leaves us with, is that Formula One has been caught out here, has been left behind in terms of being relevant in terms of its technology. One of the reasons that Honda have cited for them leaving, aside from the ever-growing cost, and that's a big deal in Formula One. You know, these power unit manufacturers are being locked down in terms of their technology. Development will be restricted over the coming years, and that means that if you're not at the very forefront, if you're not competitive now, you have to spend a huge amount of money and time and effort in the immediate future to get yourselves into a competitive position. They're not prepared to do that. But even bigger than that, they cite this reason as being the fact that Formula One's technology is not relevant enough for them. They need to focus on the technology that's going to be at the centre of their bigger global automotive manufacturing operation. That's battery EVs and fuel cell vehicles. Formula One should be leading these kind of technologies, and I know that lots of you will be shouting, but we want to go back to gas-guzzling, noisy, screaming V8s, V10s, V12s. And yes, I buy into all of that. I love all of that from a personal and emotional perspective. But if we want the world's biggest automotive manufacturers to bankroll our sport as they have done for the past few years, well then we need to be at the centre of their technological needs. And the truth is we're not. The next big power unit change comes at 2025. That's still some time away. And of course, whatever that brings, in whatever form that comes, it's going to take enormous investment to create a new set of power units to be competitive into that era. Pretty sure that Honda have seen those discussions taking place and either have weighed up the cost versus the reward of those, or don't see them as going far enough into the world that Honda, as an automotive manufacturer, need them to go to see the sport as being relevant enough to them. Either way, it's a really disappointing moment for Formula One. It's disappointment for Formula One fans because the Honda journey has had some real difficult times, of course, in that McLaren era. They've really started to come good. I've seen some success. But some success, the odd race win, is just not enough when you're spending the kind of money that Honda are asking their board back in Japan to commit to spending over a longer period. I think there's some big questions still to be answered over this about the future of Red Bull and of course AlphaTauri. There's some big questions for Honda, I guess, to answer more about why they've made this decision, and perhaps there's some big questions for Formula One to look at whether we are in fact relevant enough, whether we're class leading enough in our technology.